Welcome back to Primetime News and a special welcome once again to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. Up first this evening, the parliamentary opposition has dismissed the government's declaration of no new taxes, adding that price increases will result in more taxes being collected. Opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson spoke about those issues and more as he made his contribution to the budget debate in Parliament. Andrea Chisholm was listening and now joins us live. Andrea?
Well, Janella, Mr. Robinson suggested that the government go back to the drawing board. Essentially, he wants them to recraft the budget to account for realities such as the impact of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It's still not clear if an early supplementary estimate will be brought to Parliament, but until then, Mr. Robinson zoomed in on current issues facing Jamaicans. Julian Robinson, armed with several charts to show that food and gas prices have increased significantly. Based on data from the Consumer Affairs Commission, he says things like a bottle of cooking oil have gone up by 44%. So on Tuesday, when Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark said there were no new taxes.
The reality, however, Madam Speaker, is that the government doesn't need to impose any new taxes because it will be collecting a lot more taxes as oil prices rise and inflation skyrockets. To the ordinary Jamaican, the effect of the increases in everything from food to electricity to gas at the pump feel the same way as a new tax. So if you call it maca or you call it prickle, it'll go joke you the same way.
Mr. Robinson is therefore calling for the minimum wage to be increased to $12,000 per week. It recently went up to $9,000 for a 40-hour work week. Similarly, he wants the government to allocate more than the over $600 million to help those mostly affected by price increases. While commending the government for setting aside $2 billion to offset the impact of rising gas prices, Mr. Robinson wants to take it a step further. By his research, the government collects about $6 to $7 billion per year from the hedge tax on fuel.
We are calling, Madam Speaker, on the government to allocate the full amount that it collects from the hedge tax and put that in relief for those who are suffering from high gas prices. Not just the $2 billion.
Now, on the issue of bank fees, Dr. Clark announced that the first 100,000 people who open new KYC Know Your Customer accounts will get $2,500 and will pay no bank fees. In response,
Madam Speaker, it may be one part of the remedy, but what was announced does not address the hundreds of thousands of existing customers who would not be in the 100,000 accounts that the minister spoke about. What about those customers? Should they be left to the mercies of financial institutions? What are we doing to protect those customers?
And so he wants the government to consider the bill introduced by opposition MP Fitzjackson to help lower bank fees on deposits. Now, Mr. Robinson also supported upcoming incentives for those who buy electric vehicles. However, he wants the government to remove the tax on energy-efficient products, particularly solar batteries. Light and Power Company, the Jamaica Public Service, also came up for mention. The opposition took issue with the government's plan to divest its 20% stake.
The government should retain its stake so that it can have a voice at the table. We also believe at this particular time, with oil prices at $120 per barrel, that we are facing an energy crisis, and it requires the active involvement of the government as a shareholder in a strategic and critical asset such as the JPS.